It is. A skill gap analysis really is going to help align your team with business goals. It's going to identify the difference between the current skills that the person needs and what they need to actually achieve the goal.
Hmm.
We've created a downloadable template to really simplify this process. So as you're going through, please feel free to use this. It's going to help you focus on critical skills. It's going to help you save costs, and it will help you boost engagement because again, if we tackle the right skills that are the right priorities, it's not going to be seen as fluffy, and your
Hmm.
employees are going to be able to deliver on that measurable ROI, right? It's
Yeah,
a very powerful strategic tool, and there's really simple ways to kind of break down the steps, if you will.
correct, correct. Right. Shall we go through the steps, Katie?
Absolutely. I think it's really important. And please taking a look, everybody, at using this step by step. First thing I
Hmm.
want you to do is define your organization's goals and needs. We
Hmm.
want to align the skill gap analysis with your strategic objectives. You can do this by identifying upcoming projects, technologies, or even the market demands driving the need for those specific skills.
Hmm. So if I were to take an example, so let's say the goal is to embark on a massive digital transformation for a mid-sized organization, you might need extensive skills around data analytics, automation, or even AI, given the theme that's going on at the moment, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly it. So working with your L&D practitioner or whatnot and
Hmm.
the manager of the organization, this is a partnership, right? So we're not
Yeah,
doing this in a bubble. We want to work together.
yeah,
And with
right.
with each other, right? We want to really identify the key roles so that are going to need to be required to achieve these
Hmm.
goals. So you
Hmm.
can look to things like job descriptions, performance reviews, benchmarks, competency frameworks. A lot of this
Yeah.
data will help you pinpoint what's needed.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. So
Hmm.
again, if I were to take an example here, right? So let's say a marketing manager, for them, the essential skills would include being more data driven, leveraging maybe AI for content creation and being
Yes.
more analytics driven in terms of, making decisions and reporting towards the management, right? So in essence, it is digital transformation, but it would look very different role to role and function to function. So we need to translate that big, direction into smaller sub directions depending on roles and smaller areas of work, isn't it?
I completely agree. If we hone in on these priorities, you're going to really get targeted on your efforts where they're going to make the greatest impact. Using a
Hmm.
marketing manager, that's a perfect example of, even if 5 years back, 3 years back, every year now, everything kind of
Yeah.
changes. And AI and technology and everything, as we've talked about so much, is changing the game. And people really need to understand and not be scared of it, but really
Hmm.
be able to harness it, embrace it, and
Yeah.
learn the skills that they need to really capitalize on this future of work, right? So makes a
Correct.
lot of sense.
Hmm.
Um, then I would take, right? I would look to say, okay, what's next? We want to assess this current skill levels that you have going on, right? I want you
Hmm.
to look at your team's current skills. Now, this
Hmm.
is something that is done, it's keep it very pragmatic, but also keep it
Hmm.
very honest because we
Hmm.
want to use, look at self-assessments, look at 360s, look at survey. But if you're honest in your performance reviews and what the project
Yeah.
results are saying, you can use
Yeah.
those as a benchmark. And those
Yeah.
are really important if you're honest. And I like to call it
Hmm.
clean data. If there's clean
Hmm.
data there for you, you're going to be able to much quicker create a straightforward
Yeah.
approach. It's going to give you a clear
Right.
picture.
Right. Katie, I've always found keeping things simple here, right? Having a simple scale of, let's say, 1 to 5 has typically worked for me, where 1 is like a novice level, 5 is an expert level. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
I completely agree. I love the Likert scale. The 1 to 5 always has worked for
Hmm.
me. It identifies strengths, it identifies gaps. It also, I love the data behind it, right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, and that's what I like to put data like the 1 through 5 behind it. So, like, especially on a performance
Correct.
review, where I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times people would come into me when I was running performance reviews. Say, Katie, I only got a 3. I only got a 3. I'm like, what does a 3 even mean to you? They're like,
Correct.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Right. And so in that was such a learning lesson for me about 10
Yeah.
years ago when I realized people were so focused on the number that they didn't
Yeah.
really understand the skills that they needed, right? And
Correct.
and they were so worried about that number rather than saying, am I skilled enough? Am I capable enough to do the job I'm being asked to do today? But
Correct.
also exceed in the future, which is the scary
Hmm.
part. So that's the
Yeah.
real important part we want to think about. We want to identify those gaps between the current skills and the future needs, right? If we
Hmm.
compare the required skills for each role with the existing skill levels in your
Yeah.
workforce, you're
Yeah.
going to be able to target in and we're going to be able to figure out exactly what we need to focus on in regards to
Hmm.
learning and development so we don't waste time and money.
And
Yeah.
this is where bottom-up analysis is going to come in, right? For example,
Mhm.
let's say if only 20% of the product engineering team knows advanced AI modeling, whereas for our objectives we need at least 50% of them to know, then that becomes like a clear priority for the organization to invest in it, right?
Exactly. And this also becomes your business case, right? If we're sitting there
Hmm.
going and asking for an investment with our
Absolutely.
C-suite and we're going to our CFO and saying this is why we need it, we really need to be able to
Hmm.
take the data and create that story. Because
Hmm.
if we're really focusing on those skills that deliver the greatest business impact, now we're
Correct.
really focusing on making that business case about really sense of urgency, why it's really important, how often we're
Yeah.
going to use it. And the other part is if we don't prioritize this, then we're not going to be able to necessarily achieve. It's more of a guessing game. So we want to
Correct.
ensure that each resource, and I keep coming back to this, is
Hmm.
targeted and we're creating the greatest value at that time. And
Hmm.
again, pivot as needed, but the more we focus on strategy up front, the less we're going to have to do like in the
Hmm.
end, right? So
Yep. Yep.
mhm.
Absolutely. And I think this is where alignment goes a long way, right? So if your priorities are aligned with the organization's priorities, then it becomes much more easier to, make your case for investment, isn't it?
Exactly. Once you have this case,
Hmm.
then you want to create targeted solutions.
Correct.
Often people don't think about that. They just want to go right to the solution without spending this time. Once you get
Hmm.
to this place, you're going to be able to design a tailored learning
Yep.
program using
Yep.
the mix of methods like on the job training or e-learning,
Hmm.
workshops, certifications. There's tons of fun
Correct.
stuff. This is where I
Correct.
get passionate, right? So that
Yep.
you're focused in ensuring that you're going to really deliver those results and people are
Yeah.
going to see the needle moving rather than just saying, oh, I have training today. Oh, it's an hour, 2 hours. Those times have to go because that's a waste of time and it becomes an event. So we want to make sure
Correct.
we're nailing it as quickly as possible.
Correct. So just going back to our example that we were taking, right? So if customer satisfaction is one of the key objectives for the organization, then the managers and the leaders must be trained for conflict resolution as a priority, isn't it?
Absolutely. Not none of this thing called business is not easy, right? Conflict resolution is such a is a skill that needs to be focused. But yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, I would agree.
Hmm.
Because this isn't just about improvement, it's about keeping
Yeah.
your organization competitive and
Right.
agile and ready for the future. This future is changing so fast and it's
Hmm.
incredible. It's so important that we invest in our people.